pressured allies to restrict semiconductor exports to China, rallied other advanced economies to counter what it sees as Beijing's economic coercion, and signed a new trade deal with Taiwan. Well, these actions have promoted Beijing to question the sincerity of the Biden administration. Despite Washington's attempts to provoke a crisis across the Taiwan Straits and hamper China's development, especially in the high-tech sector, Beijing expresses a desire for more dialogue between the two largest global economies. Well, there is a silver lining in the business sectors, as recent visits by Microsoft founder Bill Gates and Tesla founder Elon Musk were warm and positive, highlighting growing economic opportunities for both nations. It is now hoped that Blinken's visit will lead to a thaw in relations, paving the way for clearer lines of communication, even though the road to normalcy remains a challenge.
That's Dong Xue for us there. The Taiwan question was discussed during Blinken's visit to Beijing. While meeting with President Xi, Blinken said the U.S. does not support Taiwan independence. Vice chairman of Taiwan's Kuomintang party says Blinken's trip has sent a positive signal amid a strained relationship between China and the United States.
I think this is rather encouraging sign because for Secretary Blinken to be able to meet with his counterparts in mainland China sent out very positive signals, especially during a fraught U.S. and China relations.
And China says that it has once again conveyed message of one China principle, as well as the 3 Sino-U.S. joint communiques. And while meeting with President Xi, Blinken also said that the U.S. does not support the so-called Taiwan independence. What's your take on that?
The KMT never believes in the concept of Taiwan independence. Unfortunately, not everyone believes in us. Apparently in Taiwan, there are people who are trying to promote these very dangerous ideas through Blinken. You kind of let people know that this is not going to happen because the United States simply just won't endorse this kind of movement.
What you see might be the biggest barricades in the mainland and in Taiwan.
Our competitor, or I should say our rival, the DPP, who's currently the ruling party in Taiwan, they have been advocating this very dangerous idea of Taiwan independence and has been diffusing this anti-China sentiment in Taiwan, which I believe is rather irresponsible and pretty selfish because at the end of the day, the reason to do that is to further their agenda, which is the major election next year in Taiwan. In the past couple of years, most communications between Taiwan and mainland China has been disrupted due to the pandemics. And plus, as you know, that the cross relations has been plunging to a new law. I mean, anything lower will be some form of conflict or confrontation, which is definitely something we don't want to see.
What do you think? What role will the Kuomintang play in the future to maintain a peaceful development across the Straits?
There are many things that we can do in the meantime. For example, I mean, this time my colleague Andrew Shah, he had a chance to speak to his counterpart, also his friend, the new Minister of Taiwan Affairs Office in China, Song Tao, and they talk about the resumption of import of Taiwan agriculture and aquaculture products. I think there was put in an immediate effect that the sugar apple from Taidong County in Taiwan can be imported again to China, to mainland China. So this is things like this. You started from something small, step by step. You build up trust. You reconnect our people. These things are definitely beneficial to both of us.
All right, now let's get some more analysis, and we are pleased to be joined by Ms. Su Xiaohui, Deputy Director of the Department of American Studies at the China Institute of International Studies. Good evening to you, Xiaohui. Welcome to our program. So, Blinken is the first U.S. Secretary of State to visit China in more than 5 years. What are some of the major takeaways from his trip to China during this very critical juncture in time?
Well, good evening, Meng. I believe that Blinken's visit to China, as well as the high-level exchanges between the two sides, were kind of reflection and also response to international community's expectation. The countries, including the U.S. alliance, were worried that the two major powers may end up in confrontation, may have conflicts, the bilateral ties may get out of control. So in this context, Blinken's visit was kind of opportunity for the two countries to try to reach out to each other, to communicate with each other. And it is also a critical time for the two countries, the two major powers in the world, to manage the differences as well as the disputes. From China's perspective, it is along with China's interest to maintain a stable relationship with other major powers in the world, including the United States. It is quite clear. And also from the U.S. perspective, the country calculated the consequence of entering into the conflict with the countries like China. So it is a time for both countries to talk about how to stabilize the relationship.
Yeah, and Blinken's visit is seen as critical in re-establishing high-level communication as well as paving the way for more interaction in the future. What can we expect now for China-U.S. relations after this trip?
Well, Blinken's trip was a signal from both sides that they would like to talk with each other. And Blinken's visit will also boost the communication and exchanges of the two countries. It is expected that high-level visits will happen between the two countries. The senior officials will visit Beijing in next few weeks or months. And the U.S. side also talked about the potential of the leaders meeting between the two countries, so-called down the road. So it is a time for the two sides sides to try to stabilize the relationship and try to talk with each other. But at the same time, Mao Martin noticed that China stressed the importance of the basic principles of the bilateral relationship. China emphasized the importance of the mutual trust. So the U.S. side sent out some work signal during Blinken's visits and tried to work with China to stabilize the relationship. But from China's perspective, it is more important to get things settled, to make things implemented. So these always speak louder than words. So China will look into the bilateral ties and expect more outcomes of this visit and look into the U.S. response to try to shape the bilateral ties in a more positive way.
Of course. Thank you so much for your analysis, Mr. Xiaohui. Great to talk to you. One American diplomat who's all too familiar with the tumult of China-U.S. relations is Chas Freeman. He was U.S. President Richard Nixon's interpreter during his historic visit to China in 1972. Speaking with my colleague Anna Naidu, he explained the importance of Antony Blinken's trip to Beijing.
Basically, the United States and China have agreed to keep talking past each other. This visit was not aimed at enhancing the relationship, but at stabilizing it. And I would say for the moment it has been stabilized, although at the very low level that the last 5 years since the United States declared economic war on China has produced. The significance of the meeting with President Xi Jinping is that when Foreign Minister Qin Gang reciprocates Secretary Blinken's visit and comes to the United States, he has every expectation of meeting with President Biden.
When you say the relationship needs to be stabilized, does that include a recognition on the part of the United States that there needs to be a radical course correction in this relationship? Because if we look at the way in which the Chinese Foreign Ministry described the relationship, it said that the relationship is at its lowest point since its establishment.
Well, I agree with the Foreign Ministry's judgment on that point. I think the most important accomplishment of this visit really was just to demonstrate that there can be meetings at senior official levels between the United States and China, despite the hysterical opposition of some demagogues in the United States Congress. I think we'll see multiple indicators. Clearly, Secretary of the Treasury Janet Yellen and Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo plan to visit China fairly soon. That we will then know whether it's possible to have a truce in the economic warfare between the two countries. Later in the year, there is an APEC meeting in San Francisco, which President Xi Jinping might well attend, and this would provide an occasion for President Biden and President Xi to meet. So it is positive that the two sides have restored the high-level official contacts, which ceased during the pandemic and the COVID lockdowns on both sides, and have been troubled by incidents of various sorts since then. Let's hope that we can continue this kind of dialogue, even if it is mainly devoted to the exchange of well-established positions rather than to an effort to accommodate each other with concessions on both sides.
We're now watching China 24, and coming up next on the program. With China's animation industry having grown dramatically, we check out the China International Cartoon and Animation Festival in Hangzhou. Plus, authorities issue flood warnings in 10 provinces over the coming weekend with forecasts of heavy rain. From the 1,035-kilometer railway linking China to Laos, facilitating connectivity and boosting economic growth in the landlocked Southeast Asian country, to the joint China-Saudi Arabia photovoltaic project to harness renewable energy in the oil-dependent kingdom. The Belt and Road Initiative has come a long way since it was first proposed in 2013, complementing the development strategies of partner countries and building on their existing strength. The Belt and Road Initiative, linking the world in the pursuit of common prosperity for humanity. Welcome back. The 19th China International Cartoon and Animation Festival has kicked off in Hangzhou. Reporter Lucy Ray was there.
The 19th China International Cartoon and Animation Festival is underway. The love of manga, animation, and game is now in the air. For more on the festivities, follow my journey and let's get the party started.
I like the expo very much. I hope it can be held every week.
For the face of the two dimensions, my faith deserves to be known by more people.
Pachamine twins Vocaloid should be known by more.
I love all the romance and unbreakable friendship in the two-dimension world.
Industry insiders estimate China's market for animation industry reached 49 billion RMB in 2022. The magnetic power to young people of the animation and related industry is creating new business opportunities.
The 2023 Asian Games is 2 months ahead, and this time we brought our mascots and other cultural products to promote the Asian Games. We hope more people will know the games and support our Chinese athletes.
Foreign companies also finding it a chance to reinforce their culture among the young Chinese.
In the world of animation, I just learned that these characters are considered the same lives as human beings. For example, Hello Kitty is not a cat. She is a girl from London. And this Enamorel is not a dog. He is a boy from Cloud.
This park has greatly improved the awareness of our brand for people who come here. This exhibition can actually better promote the development of Chinese animation industry.
Chinese officials also say the industry is expected to build further bridges and boost cohesion across different cultures. The Chinese animation industry is also playing a vital role in reinforcing the cultural confidence of the Chinese people. CGTN, Hangzhou.
While the Chinese animation industry has grown both at home and abroad in recent years, in 2022, Chinese animation marked its centenary. The total output value of the industry at that time exceeded $31.8 billion. Imagination and tradition have come together to contribute to the boom in China's animation industry. This year, the series Yao Chinese Folktales is popular with audiences retelling traditional Chinese stories in a modern way. And the series had 10 million views within 3 days of its release on streaming platform Bilibili. 2019's Ne Zha, a recreation of the Chinese legend in which a young hero fights a Dragon King, earned more than $725 million at the Chinese mainland box office. It's China's 4th highest earning film of all time. Chinese animation has also seen growing popularity in the global market. In 2019, The Legend of Luo Xiaohei garnered more than $5 million in Japan's box office, setting a record for Chinese animation films overseas. Hollywood has also turned its attention to Chinese comic books for inspiration. Zombie Brother, about a city where the water supply has been contaminated by an accident coffin, will be made into a live-action version set in New York City. And now let's talk more about this, and we are joined by Jin Chen, Vice President of Shanghai Jinqiao College. He's also Vice President of the Wharton Alumni Club of Beijing. Thank you for joining us on our program. So the Chinese animation industry has really come a long way. It's experienced remarkable growth in recent years, captivating audiences with a multitude of animated movies and series that have gained widespread popularity. What are some of the factors that you think have contributed to the surge in the industry?
Absolutely. Well, first, thanks for having me. I think the success of the Chinese animation industry can be attributed to several factors. First, over the past 20 years, we've seen the establishment of a healthy and functioning ecosystem whereby all members of the industry are properly incentivized to innovate and do the good productions. First, venture capital and the big tech firms all got lucrative returns from those productions. And second, directors found the scripts they were looking for. And in addition, cartoonists were fairly compensated for their talent and hard work. And in addition, on the demand side, right, we've seen the Chinese audience, especially the millennials and Zers, really embracing domestic productions because the stories really resonated with them because of the Chinese culture and the Chinese history. And third, in terms of animation techniques, Chinese studios were able to employ some of the latest technologies, and they really closed the gap on some of the high quality on-screen imagery. So these are all the important factors behind this the surge.
And now, what are some of the ways that perhaps Chinese animation could continue to evolve to appeal to a wider global audiences or global markets?
Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely more work to be done. I mean, if you look at the global market, China still lags behind the U.S. and Japan in terms of overall productions and global influence. There are several things the Chinese artists can do to actually improve this. I mean, first is to continue to draw upon the richness of the Chinese culture and stories provided by 5,000 years of history. I mean, that's basically, we're sitting on a gold mine here. And second, it's also important to continue to collaborate with our counterparts from other countries. And last but not least, it's also important to continue to build some of the branded products from those IPs, say branded theme parks, movies, TV series, or even lunchboxes, in order to continue to enhance the brand equity, which will be able to provide more value in the long term.
All right. Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts with us, Mr. Jin Chen. Appreciate your time. And shifting gears now, authorities have issued flood warnings for rivers and waterways in 10 provinces over the weekend. The Ministry of Water Resources urged the provinces including Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Anhui to step up monitoring of the situation. Heavy rain is forecast from Thursday through Sunday in parts of the south and the east. Heavy rain in the coastal province of Jiangsu has raised water levels of the South Jiangsu Canal, and in central China's Hubei, some 611 reservoirs have risen above warning levels. The China International Import Expo, or CIIE, has become a platform for foreign companies to showcase their products. More than 100 exhibitors at this year's expo are visiting southwest China's Yunnan for more business opportunities. CTTN's Yang Jinghao reports.
There are companies that cover a wide range of areas, including food and agriculture, consumer goods, and the intelligent industry. On Monday and Tuesday, they took part in investment matchmaking sessions and visited industrial parks in China's southwest to tap into resources they need and meet local companies they can partner with.
We held this event to further enhance the role of the CIIE as a platform for investment and promotion and international procurement, turning more exhibits into commodities and exhibitors into investors.
Yunnan, bordering Southeast Asia, is in a unique location. It's also rich in natural resources, and both are reasons potential investors have come here.
We've built quite a few factories across China since Alfa Laval entered the country in 1985. We'll be focusing on low carbon and green development in the future. Some Chinese companies are taking a lead in this regard, so we'll seek cooperation opportunities in different provinces, including Yunnan, which is rich in water and water resources.
China's vowed to further open up to the outside world as the country's economy shows resilient growth following the pandemic. Many foreign companies say they can see great prospect in the Chinese market. The 6th CIIE, scheduled for November this year in Shanghai, is expected to welcome a record high number of exhibitors. Many are pinning their hopes on the event for more opportunities in China.
We believe in the missions of the CIIE to open up the China ecosystem to the world, and having the L'Oreal and every international company benefiting it, and also benefiting the consumers in China with a larger variety of products. It's a platform for innovation, it's a platform for companies, it's a platform for products. So it's obvious that L'Oreal is part of it.
The medium and long-term strategy of our group is in line with the principle and development goals set by the Chinese government. We hope we can contribute more in promoting optimized and intelligent manufacturing.
Promotion for the 7th CIIE was also launched at the event. A total of 25 enterprises signed a contract to confirm their participation. Yang Jinghao, CGTN, Kunming, Yunnan Province.
China's under-24 football team closed on their warm-up matches ahead of the Asian Games with 1-0 win over South Korea in Jinhua. South Korea won 3-1 in the two sides' first encounter on Thursday, but China showed massive improvements 4 days later. The only goal of the game comes on the stroke of halftime when Ba Dun finds Sun Chi-han for a simple finish. And the visitors try to get back into contest in the second half, but find keeper Han Jiaqi in decent form as it ends 1-0. Now Dejan Durjevic and his team can now switch their focus to the Asian Games with the draw yet to take place. All right, it's now time for today's China Buzz. More than 1,000 drones have staged a light show in Shenzhen over the weekend. The drones present the shape of a dragon with different movements to celebrate the upcoming Dragon Boat Festival. A vehicle maintenance worker in Shanghai has collected waste auto parts to create a life-sized transformer. Zhu's longtime enthusiasm for transformers inspired his plan. He's organized a team to make his next idea a reality, a transformer that can walk. Now, this video posted by a veterinarian in Kunming, Yunnan Province has gone viral on social media. A pet bird was stuck in the door, injuring its wings and head. And many netizens expressed their sympathy for the bird and admired its composure as it was being rescued. And that's going to do it for today's show. We want to leave you now with some scenes from northwest China's Shanxi province. I'm Wang Mengmang from all of us here on the team. Thanks for watching. Up next is Global Business with Michelle Vandenberg. Don't go anywhere. Hello and welcome to the weather forecast. I'm Danny. Well, over to China. And summer solstice is likely to begin in just a few hours, indicating more heat wave and intense wet weather across the majority of China in the near future. And take a closer look at the weather pattern. Currently, we have this huge continental high pressure system favoring the majority of northern China, indicating more scorching temperatures over the next few days. And meanwhile, this tropical high pressure system continues to sit where it has been over the past few days. And the warm moisture from the edge of it will pump up quite a lot of heavy intensity of rain, especially for portions along the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River. Take a closer look at the wet weather forecast. We can notice that the heaviest rain then is likely to cover the majority from Guizhou eastwards into Zhejiang from Wednesday into Thursday, and possibly Jiangxi and portions of Guangxi are likely to brace for the brunt of precipitation at this time during this period of time, with more than 200 millimeters of rain in a span of next 10 days possibly. So please take care. And about the temperatures, we can notice that hot temperatures in excess of 35 degrees Celsius will return and develop here for portions of Shandong, Hebei, as well as Liaoning as we head into the latter portion of this week. So please be well prepared. About business and travel, plenty of sunshine for many major cities up in the north on Thursday.
Coming up on Global Business, Chinese Premier Li Qiang calls for further cooperation between China and Germany during his first European tour since taking office. China's central bank on Tuesday cut its benchmark 1-year and 5-year loan prime rates by 10 basis points.